Today, we've got Ryan Narus on the show, a mobile home and RV park investor and co-founder of Mobile Home Park Mentors. Ryan has built a portfolio spanning over 4,700 lots, starting with limited capital and no prior experience in the space. He now helps investors break into mobile home park investing by focusing on strategy, deal sourcing, operations, and building repeatable systems for long-term cash flow and financial freedom. Ryan, welcome.
Joe, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited for this conversation.
Same here. So let's get right into it and share a little bit about yourself, like where you started and how you ended up in this industry.
Yeah, look, I started out like any other millennial. I bought the lie. The lie being work really hard in school and go to a good college and get a job and climb the ladder and you'll retire one day. Maybe that was true for my grandparents, but it is not true for my generation.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, eventually I just realized like the company will lay you off that fast, like loyalty is long gone. There's no pensions anymore. You have to fend for yourself. And thankfully I realized that in my 20s, my early 20s. The problem was I went, boy, I have no idea what the heck I want to do in terms of what business I want to start. And so it took me years to figure out, number one, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, then years to figure out what exactly it was that I wanted to start. And then it took me 2 years to even get full time. And it took me even many more years after that to get back to the salary that I was at when I quit to become an entrepreneur. So, I mean, it was a grueling, long grind and again, this is just an entrepreneurial story, not a mobile home park story. It's entrepreneurship explained through the lens of mobile home parks, but really at the end of the day, it's just being an entrepreneur. And I think I grinded it out many times over many years, and eventually, when I found it, I hit it hard and fast and made the best of it. So yeah, happy to go into as many or as few details as you want about my journey and where I'm at, where I'm going.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about what you do with the mobile park investments, and then about the mentors company that you've started.
Yeah, look, the thing is when you're a young entrepreneur, wannabe entrepreneur. So I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur in about 2012, and I didn't find mobile home parks until 2015. Then I didn't get full time until 2017. So I mean, we're talking 3 years to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, then 2 years to even get full time. And when you go through that process, that for me, again, 3 year process of going through ideas and starting a couple and having them go nowhere, you start to look at things like Shark Tank, and Shark Tank's great. And you sit back and you're like, man, I like imagine having this idea and it's like the adrenaline rush, and I got to go pitch investors and I got to do all this stuff. And you sit back and you're like, what company should I create? Like, what idea, what needs to be addressed in the greater marketplace? And then I guess just one day I realized, like, why not just buy something that's already cash flowing? Like, why am I trying to invent the wheel? When I literally just buy something that's already working and I could just go in and pay a fair price for it and make it even better. And I think once I realized that, I went, okay, well, who am I? And eventually that was, boy, I really like real estate. And then eventually it was, all right, well, let's start with single family homes. And then, all right, well, maybe I don't really love that. So then what's that? Then eventually mobile home parks hit my desk, and I went, that's it. That checks so many boxes. I'm passionate about affordable housing. I'm passionate about helping others and charitable causes and helping kids get their education. And that was all well and good, Joe, until I realized you have to have money to buy a business,
Yeah.
which I did not have. I had no money. I had no experience, so no bank wanted anything to do with me. And then I had no network, so no rich guy to call. So I had to go and build all of that. It's the whole chicken before the egg. What do you do? And I think the answer is you just kind of, when you don't know if it's chicken or the egg, you just do both. You just say,
Yes.
I'm going to just call everybody. I'm going to try to get deals. I'm going to try to get investors. I'm going to try and build all of this. And I mean, a lot of folks are like, well, who would you have called first? And it was like, dude, it's impossible to know that. The reality is like, I just called everybody. Most people didn't call me back. Funny story is a lot of those people who didn't call me back now are like, I was there at the beginning. And I was like, funny story, you weren't.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
man, I'm embarrassed. I should have. Dude, but how many other people went nowhere that called you and didn't call back? Right. And so it's just funny because like you just got to make your own luck. You just have to go out there and grind it out. Pick something you love or think you're going to love and just give it a full-time effort. And so, yeah, I mean, again, like I could talk for hours about this, Joe. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I love mobile home parks. I do, but I think I'm an entrepreneur who happened to pick mobile home parks, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, based on that, story and being an entrepreneur and everything, I really would like to target on, in the business that you're actively in now, what um what has worked really well for you to find deals? Because I think that's what the real search is here, at least for our listeners, is finding out what things worked to make that success happen and what things were frustrating or challenging that you either had to overcome or say, this isn't working, I gotta throw this away.
Fantastic question, because to me, there are three legs of the stool of any real estate transaction. And those three legs are the acquisition, so finding the deal, the capital, so the debt and the equity, and the operations. And when I started, I had nobody, no network, and no experience, but I had a cell phone and the ability and willingness to try to sell myself, right? So I could find deals and I could operate them. In fact, I wanted to operate them. I'm a business guy. I want to go and find a business to go and operate and take to that next level. I'm a systems, processes, procedures guy. So I realized two out of those three legs I could do for free. In fact, I could get paid to do them. So that's what I attacked. And I found a business partner who handled the debt and equity, which is great. So now I got my lanes and I can attack them. So how did I find deals? Well, it's interesting because times have changed post COVID, post AI.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
pre COVID, nobody cared about mobile home parks. Mobile home parks were just like, oh, who would want to own a trailer park? And I got started in 2015, just when the tides were really noticeably starting to turn. When people were like, oh my gosh, this is a hidden gem. And now everybody knows about it. And I want to talk about that for a second, Joe, because pre-COVID, pre-COVID, there were very few brokers in this asset class. And those brokers understandably wanted the highest commission checks possible, which were on the most expensive, nicest properties possible. And so why would they call some small, crappy trailer parks? And the answer is they wouldn't. So I went, that's my end. I'm going to start calling small, tougher trailer parks in good place, like good dirt, right? So big cities. So my strategy was small properties, troubled properties, big cities only, because I was betting on the market to appreciate, and I was correct. And I could literally call someone and they would answer, and I could have a conversation with someone. What do you want to buy my what? Mobile home park? Huh. Interesting. Tell me more. That then turned into, okay, dude, you're like the fifth person to call me this week. What the hell do you want? Which I figured out how to get around by adding value on the phone call. So let me talk about this real quick because this is going to lead into the AI and the broker part. Because eventually, all these brokers got into this space and they would call literally anything, anywhere that was zoned mobile home parking. I mean, anything. 2 lots, 200 lots, 2 million lots, doesn't matter. Brokers are calling it trying to get a fee on anything now. So now you're competing with really highly skilled, highly talented cold callers who do it all day long. And not like the VA from the Philippines who happens to speak English and who goes, would you like to sell your trailer park? No, I'm talking about like a real professional. So as a former salesman, how did I sell? So I sold Hondas for 4 years. How did I win awards selling Hondas. Well, I said, first off, I bought a Honda and I went through the process and I went, here's what I liked about this experience and here's what I didn't like about this experience. And here's what probably happens in all scenarios. And I went, now let's try to change the way someone buys a car in a way that is unforgettable in a very, very positive way. So it's maybe not necessarily fun because who wants to actually buy a car, right? At least it's less bad, if that makes sense. But ultimately, how can I be unforgettable? And so I kind of took that concept and applied it to cold calling for mobile home parks. And I said, what happens when you make a cold call and you just reach out to someone blankly? Well, in a very stripped down, rudimentary way, Joe, what you're doing is you're going, hi, sir, ma'am, I want something from you. Will you give it to me? When does that land?
Yeah.
The answer is it almost never lands because you're basically saying, gimme. And if you read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, he talks about the emotional bank account. And I credit that book specifically for giving me this realization, which is you can't withdraw money from a bank account that you've never deposited money into.
That's
And
good.
so I went, if I'm cold calling someone and I'm saying, hey, will you sell me your property? Like your temptation there is like, hey, let me give you a pile of money. But the problem is, a lot of these people didn't want to sell their asset. For a lot of these folks, it would be a tax implication, and that's their sole income. So they don't need nor want a pile of cash that they now have to pay tax on and have to go and invest somewhere else. They don't want it. Plus, again, that's their full time job. So you're actually, in that scenario, calling somebody, wanting something from them, and not really having anything to give back to them. So I flipped that. I would call people and I would offer them something. So I would call people and say things like, hey, I own such and such mobile home park right down the road. Do you happen to have an electrician? Because mine just went nuts. By the way, don't use ABC Electrical anymore. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I got a guy. Oh, you should only use Bubba. He's the best electrician in town, and I went to high school with him, and da 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 da. I love him. I can't wait to introduce you to Bubba. So now all of a sudden, what have I done? I've made this person happy. So I've boom, deposited the emotional bank account. They're happy to refer their friend.
Hmm.
Boom, they feel like they're a connection broker. Like you call me and I got a guy. Like they like that, and people like
Yeah.
helping people. And so now all of a sudden, what I've done is I've introduced myself as a fellow mobile home park owner right down the road. I'm part of the tribe. I'm giving you some value. While we're chatting, you might be like, oh, hey, like my plumber retired. You got a good plumber? Yeah, I use XYZ plumbing. They're great. Here's, Joe's information at XYZ's plumbing. Oh, dude, thank you. I mean, that's great. Okay, hey, call me if you need something. Now, all of a sudden, my goal on the cold call is not to convince you to sell me your. My goal on that call is to convince you to save my cell phone in your cell phone. So now it's not a cold call anymore. Now it says, Ryan Narus, when I call you, the odds that you answer now go through the roof. Or if nothing else, you'll text me back because you know who I am. So now all of a sudden I can really build that rapport. And now when it's like, yeah, I'm starting to get the itch to sell this, guess who gets a call? Me.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean I always get to buy it. Maybe we're off on price. Maybe they go through a broker anyways. I cannot tell you how many mobile home parks I bought that way. It's a lot. I built a sizable portfolio via cold calling. But Joe, that time has died. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to give away my secrets now because I've had to go reinvent myself. Because now what's going on is there is an enormous amount. I'm going to pull up my phone because I want to actually show you this. It's absurd. Now there is just an unbelievable number of people who just use AI in cold call. This is like literally, is this today? This is today and yesterday. And I can scroll up and down and there's more. It is nonstop. The number of AI bots and cold callers who just harass me every day. And I am not alone. If you have a mobile home park now anywhere in the country of any size, you are getting harassed by AI bots and by brokers. And again, these brokers are highly talented people who do this all day long. They're going to beat you. And so the question becomes, well, what the hell do you do now if nobody is selling off market anymore to, some local yokel who just called him out of the blue and said, "Hey, I got a plumber." And the answer is you go through the brokers now. So most of my deals have actually been through brokers. But here's the interesting thing. It hasn't just been brokers. It's been a lot of networking. So we talked about mobile home park mentors, aka the 30-day MHP pros, whatever you want to call us. I have, just like that cold calling theory, realized that networking works the exact same way. You start dropping money in the emotional bank accounts throughout the country, throughout the mobile home park owners. Like, folks know who I am now. I texted someone today. I got a email from a broker literally today, a couple hours ago, and it said, "Hey, here's a portfolio for sale. Are you interested? Do you have a listing?" No, I don't. Okay, so this is an off-market broker thing. I pull the address, I pull the owner, I text the owner, who, by the way, I have not. I will tell you right now when the last time I talked to this guy was, because this is in my cold calling days. One second. This is a true story. This is good timing. It's good timing. The last time I texted him was December 18th of 2019.
Huh.
So as of
Huh.
this recording in 2026, I haven't talked to this guy going on 7 years, and I got him on the phone. And here's how. Let me read this text to you. Let me read this. This is a real text. I'm gonna read this. This is real stuff. I said, "Hey, blank, this is Ryan Narus, Archimedes Group. It's been a while. Just FYI, there's a broker shopping your stuff off market. I'm sure it's legit and you're aware, but in the off chance it isn't, I figured you'd like to know. A couple years ago, a broker was selling my parks. There's some characters out there. Hope you're well." Joe, he texted me back in literally 15 minutes on the dot, and then called me.
And the outcome?
And the outcome was, "Hey, you remember our mutual friend Janine?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I just talked to her last week and we talked about you."
Oh,
And I was like, "Get out of town. Here's a guy I haven't talked to in years who is still thinking about me today, 7 years later." And Janine, by the way, is a friend of mine, and I've also helped her out and vice versa over the years. So you're talking now all of a sudden, because of my LinkedIn and my podcast and my mentorship program and all the ways I've helped people and I've deposited, and in cold calls of old, I've deposited all of these, I have these positive deficits in my, or surpluses rather, in my favor, in all of these emotional bank accounts throughout the industry. Now people are literally talking about me in a positive light. They're literally talking about me behind my back without me even knowing. And by the way, I wouldn't have even found that out had I not texted him today. So how
hmm
many other conversations are going on out there? So I would say the other big thing, and the secret, again, I'm willing to share here outside of brokers, is if you're building positive relationships, all of a sudden deals start coming your way. So I'm not going to undercut this broker. If I end up buying this deal, I'm going to pay him. It's not a big deal. I want these people to be happy and to call me when they have deals. But what's interesting here is, let's say, for example, this broker quits and is like, "I'm out." And a year goes by and I'm out. And this owner calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you still want to do this?" All of a sudden I got an off-market deal on my hands, right?
Yeah.
Or what if this guy called me directly and it wasn't one of mine, but I got a network full of people who might want it. Now all of a sudden, boom, I'm handing you off. Maybe I get a fee, maybe I don't. I don't care, because those people are then going to do the same for me. And so I'm getting a little lengthy here on my wording here, Joe, but I want to tie this into AI because I know we want to talk about AI. The thing is, I have literally 3 AI bots in my email right now. Pretty sure your AI emailed me, by the way.
Yep.
Um, and
Top found you.
I know I was gonna say it's great. now that I know it's AI, now I can talk to the AI a little bit more efficiently rather than be like, is this a human or not? And so for stuff like this, um, dude, AI is great, right? Because your AI basically went and found me and emailed me, and then we connected, and now we're here. And that's fantastic because the reason why, and you and I talked about this pre-recording, the reason why I want to do this podcast, I don't care about promoting anything for myself. I want to double down on that emotional bank account concept. Like, I want to
Hmm.
be on your podcast so I can give you good content. So now you remember me. But also, any of your listeners will hear me and be like, oh my God, what a guy. He's smart. He's connected. He's all of these things. And I wonder if I reach out to him, if he'll make a deposit in my emotional bank account, not expecting anything in return. And the answer is yes. I am here because I want you listeners to reach out to me and I want to help you. Not because I need something from you right now, but in the future, if I have helped you, you're way more likely to help me. And that's how I want to build my network. And I
Well,
also want to encourage others to do the same.
I think that the listeners that are listening to this podcast are people that could come across deals that they may need an investor and someone to even guide them through the process because, yeah, not a lot of people look at the RV sector as something of success. There's the people that dabble in it, and there's the people that have no clue. And both of them may find a value from what you've already learned. And another key thing that you just brought up was that even though you've had success in this industry, now with new tools and availability out there, you still have to have reinvented yourself again.
Correct.
So you can't stay stagnant. You've got to find new ways. And I think that's kind of what's crucial to this market today is that we are in a down market no matter what business you're in. And you have to find new ways to solve those bottleneck challenges. So by saying that, it leads me up to like, which matrices are you most focused on improving to reinvent yourself? Is it, I mean, are you working on cash flow, occupancy, or is it lot rentals or deal pipelines? What is it that you're doing different today than what you were doing even 12 months from now?
So that's an interesting question. And I mean, I could talk about that for hours, but real quick, I just wanted to ram home one really super important point. The one constant in amongst all of that change is human psychology. And so for those of you listening in right now, what I ultimately wanted to say about like the email from Joe that came from his AI is there was a mutual benefit in that email. So I responded. If Joe had used AI to just ask me for something, or he had emailed me thinking he was going to improve my life somehow, but it wouldn't for one reason or another, I'd delete the email and never respond. And so the reason why I bring that up is yes, AI will change things. Yes, brokers, this, that, the other thing, and you got to constantly evolve. But the one constant, human beings are not evolving in the moment. Like
Mm,
it takes many generations to evolve. So therefore, your kind of biological programming it ain't gonna change, right? And
right.
the new entrance into the to your arenas, it's gonna be very similar kind of biological programming, if you will. So if you take time to understand psychology, you can use the tools and change your strategy to become more efficient. So I want to get back to your question there. So like,
Well,
what am I doing?
let me
Oh yeah,
add
sure.
on that real quick, and that is that also I feel is don't take people's level of intelligence for granted either, because though it connected for you just on that response, I still have others that are asking the questions: Is this real or is this a bot? Is this a live person or not? And you still have to, even if you're using AI, still have to have that human element to go in and respond because the AI only knows how to respond how you teach it to respond. It's a
Yes.
calculator. It's nothing more than a calculator, which is kind of, quite frankly, why so many people are worried, oh, AI will, self-educate itself and become Skynet and the whole Terminator series, scenario. And that just really isn't a very logical way of thinking because it can't become self-aware because it doesn't have human intuition and it needs to be educated. It can calculate things, right, wrong, or indifferent, but it has to be checked because it can be wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I got a podcast guy who reached out to me, and I'm literally in an argument with his AI bot because there's a problem with the coding. And so
Oh,
it keeps shooting me errors out. And I'm like, dude, just contact me with your human. And it's like in this, it will not admit it's a bot, even though it responds in 30 seconds with like paragraph emails. I'm like, this is physically impossible for you to respond this fast. I
it,
know it's a bot. Just tell me you're a bot and get me into. Anyways, could not agree more, Joe. It can be frustrating, and I'm a big Terminator fan and Matrix fan, by the way. I read the news. It may not be so bad if robots take over. We ain't so special.
well, it's a
Um,
yeah, that's subject for another debate, right?
another, another day. I really want to answer your question, though. I thought it was great
Yeah.
about what's kind of changed in the last 6 to 12 months. And I think the reality is when I started, I had no money, no network, no experience, and I had no way of hiring people because I couldn't even pay myself. And so what do? You lean like heck on all the automations around you. And so I taught myself how to code Rent Manager. I partnered with Zego, Paylease, Metron, Amred, all sorts of um, softwares that I could automate and do things in scale. And within the last 12 months, we've started to use Claude and ChatGPT a lot more. And I just quickly wanted to go over a couple of them with you because it's really interesting. And I want to start by saying I could not agree with you more. I think this idea of AGI is kind of the snake oil sales pitch that's out there right now. Could it come? Absolutely. Probably is an inevitability. Is it here today? And hell no. We got some stuff to fix. That being said, I can do a lot of really kind of tedious tasks incredibly well. And I'm just going to quickly talk about a couple ways that I've integrated it. So, first off, as a landlord, being able to take a really frustrated and upset client and remove yourself from that situation via plugging in the conversation to a chatbot, seeing what response it is, and then putting it in your own words and replying back has saved a lot of myself and my employees from letting emotions win. Because the reality is 9 times out of 10, your clients, and this isn't just being a landlord, this is just in general, 9 times out of 10, a client just wants to be heard and feel
Hmm.
important. And it's when you know it and love it and you built it yourself and you work so hard every day and someone just, is angry and they're like, your business sucks. It's so hard not to take that personally. And it's so amazing to take something like a chat GTP and dump it in there and give it a prompt and go back and forth, shadow box a little bit with it, and then strip your emotionality out of it and really provide a fantastic response to someone. Then when time goes on and they calm down, because you always got to give people a couple minutes to calm down, then you get them on the phone and the true human to human interaction takes that to the next level. That has been a game changer, a serious game changer, because now we can take difficult conversations and we can standardize it, right? So now if like one employee is a little bit more of a hothead with a shorter temper, one of them may not be as eloquent, right? Like strengths and weaknesses of each person. Now we can put this in a machine, a calculator, if you will. And you can standardize that. Another bunch of really interesting things you can do with Claude. So if we are, say, for example, breaking into a new market, let's say we found a great mobile home park that's available in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I don't know anything in Little Rock, Arkansas. I can literally tell Claude to go and find every mobile home park, try to figure out what the lot rents are, right? So we understand market, try to figure out what apartments and single family homes are going for. So I don't just have to rely on like bestplaces.net. right? I can have Claude go look at like Zillow and all sorts of other stuff. I can have it find everybody it thinks is a relationship banker in and around Little Rock and the greater Arkansas. And I can have it email, just like your AI bot emailed me, email every single relationship banker in the area. So it'll find, contact, and standardize an email to them basically saying, hey, we got a mobile home park under contract. We wanted to know if you land on mobile home parks. And then all of a sudden, it is now cold calling banks for me. And so now all of a sudden, I don't have to spend as many hours researching, calling, hi, Little Rock Bank, like, Arkansas Credit Union. Do you lend on mobile home parks? Okay. Oh, you got to get in touch with Ed. All right. Now I'm talking to Ed. Oh, you got to talk to Sam. All right. Hey, Sam, do you do this? No, I don't. Okay. Well, there's an hour of my time. Or Claude finds Sam and Sam responds back, no, we don't. Now we're done. Or the opposite. Sam responds back, yep. Should we hop on a call? Boom. Yes. Not only does it do that, it can take all of this info, help me build out basic underwriting and an OM, an offering memorandum, with all of this data, uh, all of this tediousness solved like that. You just set it, go grab lunch, come back, it's ready for you. And then obviously you want to put your own touch on it because I don't, at least right now, like AI is just not 100% there, but it's 95% of the way there. So you're always going to go through it and change the wording or move a photo around the page. Or you're like, no, that's an outlier. I need to remove this from my data set, right? Or like it forgot to email this bank or it got spammed at that bank. So I still need to, right? But like the amount of hours it has solved for us has been unbelievable. So there's still a ton of ways you can use AI in even a more mature business like multifamily real estate.
Absolutely. I mean, there are just untouchable ways of doing that. And so I like that you're using the AI to grow and find new ways to utilize those things. It's as simple as saying, give me the contact names of everybody in a 50-mile radius, and their address and when they purchased their property. And lots of different ways you can do that. And I've certainly helped other people do that. So based on your growth and everything, we've kind of dialed in on the things that you're doing differently, the things you're coming up with. I mean, where do you see your business or even your mentorship, if that's more important to you? Where do you see that going in the next 6, 12, 24 months as you expand your portfolio, grow your portfolio, whether in the mentorship space or in the personal space?
Yeah, look, my mentorship program is for fun. It's part-time. It's a way for me to help others. It's really a way for me to learn too, because teaching can actually be educational for yourself.
Mhm.
I actually have learned while I've been teaching, because what teaching allows you to do is take knowledge in your brain and crystallize it. Like you might kind of understand it intuitively, but you've never taken a second to kind of express this knowledge to someone else. And the process of kind of defogging your brain and condensing that knowledge into a couple sentences, it just makes you that wiser and that more effective. And so to me, that's the fun part about my mentorship programs, not only helping others, but there's a bunch of different ways I can benefit too. But that's a side thing. I will always make more money and extract more fulfillment from growing a portfolio. Now I've bought office, retail, gas stations, RV parks, mobile home parks. So I'm starting to like kind of buy everything because I really like real estate. So, kind of like what's next, I guess, for me is I just want to keep buying real estate. Like this is who I am and what I'm meant to be. I'm an entrepreneur first who happens to love real estate, but I also have, a mentorship coaching business, which it's also a business. And I'm sure there'll be other businesses that I'll start along the way as well, just because I love business. But, here's the interesting thing that all real estate investors are facing right now, which is what is going to happen with AI. So you kind of have three buckets. You have your boomers, your doomers, and your nothing. And I don't want to say nothing burgers, but your slow burners. So your boomers are the folks who are like, this is going to change our lives in 18 months. And like all of a sudden, mass layoffs and, like you're going to have massive unemployment, but like it's K-shaped economy. Like the rich are going to be so rich and the poor are going to get much poorer and middle class are going to start. So you have the boomers, then you have the doomers, and maybe that's the wrong terms for it, but the doomers are like, this is a nothing burger. Nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be a cute tool that we'll use, kind of like 3D glasses or 3D TVs. Like, whatever happened to those? Nothing. Right. So, like, you have people who are there. I find myself in the third bucket, which is somewhere in between the two. I think this is going to be a life-changing thing. I think it's going to go a hell of a lot slower than anybody realizes. I think it'll go faster than the internet. So if you want to say the internet, started in 1995, obviously it started before that, but it started to really catch on in about 1995. Then you have your early 2000s dot-com bubble. Then by the late 2000s, pre-2010, everybody was on the internet. And now, like, the internet is like, we're literally talking on the internet.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would bring it back to even further in time and the doomers and gloomers when the computer came out. Oh, everyone's going to lose jobs. What happened, right? You're always still going to need physical labor for
Yes.
infrastructure, and then you're going to need sales for everything else, and you're always going to always going to need some kind of human element somewhere.
I could not agree more. In every revolution, agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, the information revolution that we're in, not, or I guess the internet technically was part of, in the AI revolution. So we're going to live through two revolutions. In all of those cases, the jobs just morphed into something else, and I think what's fascinating about each revolution was about multiplication. So the agricultural revolution multiplied a human's ability to produce calories, right? So now all of a sudden I don't have to hunt. Now all of a sudden I can literally grow in scale my food. Then the industrial revolution was like, I don't need one strong dude now. I have a machine that is equal to 50 strong dudes. So I need one dude who's not even necessarily strong to now have the strength of 50 men. The internet is basically going, you have a library at your fingertips. So you're multiplying your ability to go research. So you're not like one guy in a library, you're now an infinite number of people, as it would seem, across the entire globe sharing information. And then the AI one is like the industrial revolution in regards to that now you have not the strength of 50 men being controlled by one person. You have the intellect of 50 people being controlled by one person. So I think it's going to be interesting. Because I have fallen in that third bucket, that like I think this is going to change our lives. I think it's going to take a decade, maybe longer, and the change is going to be slow and jobs are going to morph. They're not going to necessarily go away. Because I'm in that bucket, what does that do to me as a real estate investor? What that does to me is that goes, look, and I do believe in the K-shaped economy, I think that's what's coming. Therefore, if you're going to have inflationary issues, if you're going to have a big fat question mark in terms of where's labor going, where jobs going, if you have that risk, where do you want to be? Where people need to live. Because people need to eat, drink, and have a food and have a roof over their head. And so I think that when there's a big fat question mark in terms of currency, because we talk crypto like all day long, you have a question mark about currency, like you want to own the land. And if inflation's going up, you want to rent. And so to me, right now, if it is true, if it becomes true, a riskier bet is office, because if it becomes true, office is a hell of a good buy right now. Because right now everybody's terrified of office. They're going, oh yeah, it's gonna take everybody's jobs and we're not gonna need offices anymore. And you're like, fine, be scared. I'll take it. right? So I think it's interesting as a real estate investor driving into a dense fog, going, should I hit the brakes? Should I hit the gas pedal and say YOLO, or should I just kind of continue on? And that's just what keeps everything fun, Joe, is the constant needing to reinvent yourself.
So Ryan, then if you could solve one major bottleneck for yourself and your business today, what would that be?
One major bottleneck, boy, you're always going to have a bottleneck, for sure. I think the biggest bottleneck is just leads because, while I have pretty good deal flow, the reality is it's never matched in terms of investors wanting to do business with you, deals to place their money in. And so you're never going to have a match. It's either you're going to have too much investor money, not enough deals, or too many deals, not enough investor money. Right now, I have too much investor money. I've had to send literally millions of dollars back to investors, which isn't a bad thing, right? Because what you're communicating there is like, hey, look, we took this much money. We didn't want to feel like we had to rush into spending it. So, like, it's more responsible to hand it back. But to me, right now, even though deal flow is fine, I've just I've cultivated quite a following over the last decade and counting, and I have a lot of people who are really interested in investing, which is a great problem to have. But the bottleneck is for sure finding the right fit for all of those investors. Um, Honestly, Joe, it's not a bad place to be because like I don't have to grow unless I want to.
That's great. That's a great place to be. I think that's somewhere everyone kind of envisions to be one day. I know my son is going to college right now. He says straight up, "Look, I'm lazy. I need to figure out how to make my money real quick so I can be lazy earlier in life." And I know it's a goal of everybody. I guess he'll learn one way or another if he can make that happen or not. But well, all right. Well, you've certainly shared a lot today, a lot for our listeners to think about and everything. But I think at the end of the day, the bottleneck question really kind of brought it home and how you answered that, which is at the end of the day, you still need to nurture relationships and generate new relationships, regardless of what tools you're using and regardless of what industry you're in. That will never change. Is that relationship? And I think that's a great place for us to kind of stop for the show today. I just want to ask you, is there anything else that you'd like to add to that conversation?
Look, everything I said was true. I am here specifically to help you, listener, to inspire you to if I can build a company from scratch, you can too. You just have to believe in yourself and you have to forgive yourself for taking years to find whatever it is. And it's like meeting my wife. It took me years and lots of rejection and lots of weird dates and heartbreak to eventually find the one. And if I was to tell myself pre meeting my wife anything, it would be, dude, just keep looking. Don't
Hmm.
stop. Commit to a marathon, not a sprint. And it's the same thing, everybody. Like, if you can learn anything from me, obviously the relationship piece is probably the main takeaway. But also is like, y'all, I've come here today to allow you to find me because I want to help you. I do not expect anything in return. Hopefully, one day I'll call you up and there's something you can do to help me, but like that's not my expectation. And I think by creating those relationship surpluses, if you will, not deficits, I believe karma will pay me back tenfold, right? And if you've heard me and you were inspired by me, then you know what to do right now, which is go help somebody and then start helping more people. And then what I hope from here, Joe, is that this snowballs, is that I inspire people to help people who inspire to help people, and we all make this world a better place. We be the change we want to see in the world because I again am a big fan of Terminator and Matrix. And in both of those movies, the robots killed everybody. So we might have to learn to get along if we're going to have to go and fight robots. So everybody.
Ryan, again, Thank you for sharing all these great insights.